What's up, Freebirds? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jason. If you are just joining us, welcome, where we wrench, review, and work on motorcycle content. And today, are we on a Buell or Sportster? Why would I even put Buell in front of this Sportster? And that's not to downgrade a Sportster at all. But what we're really on is this 1998 Sportster 1200S. This is a bike is beautifully owned by Adam, a local guy around here that we just finished up in the last two videos. If you haven't catch them, I'll put them up here. We added on the blacked out levers up here, the controls, and down below we have now fresh Joker machine pegs, which have a moto style peg onto it. Very comfortable already so far, I can say. And R1S shifter peg with rear pegs he went with. And nice, tastefully done on this bike, because the bike already itself has black with chrome hints. We are actually on our way back to Adam to drop off his bike here. Let me borrow it for the ride back. And so far, I'm really digging it. The reason why I said Buell or Sportster, that was a weird time in 1998 for Harley. They were just getting their, their stride with Buell going on a fast sports style bike. And if you haven't looked it up, it's a Buell Lightning is essentially what this bike has borrowed its performance from. And this Sportster, out of, there's the XR Sportsters and all that other with inverted front ends, but this one during its time was ahead of its time for a cruiser. If you want an inverted front end, you would grab a Buell Lightning or any type of Buell itself. That's what Harley owned. But this bike stole or shares some of the properties, and they didn't know, I felt like on this bike, they didn't know which way to go with it for Harley. They couldn't make it outperform the Buell Lightning, because that would just be more competing against themselves. But they wanted to improve the Sportster. So some of the comparisons are the heads. The heads are directly off the Buell Lightning. And to make it idle better from the previous years, these heads have two spark plugs. The same Sportsters that are non-S's don't have that. The 1200, I think it's custom or standard that they had. And those have single spark plugs. The reason why they did that is because they wanted to make this Sportster the smoothest idling Sportster that they could produce for the years. Because the ones previously, there would be leftover fuel in the combustion chamber of the piston, so they wanted to remove as much fuel or any gappage of any leftover fuel, so they added a second spark plug. But the way that the Buell heads are, and how smooth the valve train is on top, you don't need it. This thing is a smooth, like I would say next to a fuel injected Sportster, which I've rode, this is right there with it. I mean, easy on the gas, it's smooth through the corners. You're not trying to, you don't have any hesitation. I know people will probably say, well, if your carbs are dirty, and yes, I know that, but in general, this was designed to smooth out any of the flaws that the previous Sportster had in its idle, giving it, I believe, an extra 10 horsepower, right around, during the time, I believe 67 horsepower. And on top of the heads being borrowed from Buell and Buell spark plugs, it was bolted down to an 883 motor. So the compression raised to a 10-to-1. So that's what gave the little extra horsepower, right around, like I said, 10 extra. And this runs at 67. And a Buell, if you are wondering, runs right about, I believe, 87 for the year. And Harley's reasoning during the time why they couldn't produce more of what the Buell had, one was the air filter they claimed and the exhaust. And finally going to a rubber mounted chassis, which the Buell was, and this being a solid mounted chassis before the creation of the rubber mounted chassis of the Sportster. So this is kind of their evolution into trying to make their old Evolution motor even stronger than it was before. And oddly enough, it has more horsepower, but it revs out at 5,000 as compared to the previous years, right around, I believe, 56 to 6,200. But the Buell of this year runs at 6,500 to 8,500, I believe. Actually, no, I don't believe it's as high. It's right around 65 to 75, I believe. Those were the similars between the Buell and the Sportster of this year. And they really wanted to make this cruiser a better performing at low end, which these were also known as and continuously known as. Harleys are known for their low end more so than obviously the top end. Are they the low end monsters? No, but that's why they never force the horsepower in their specs. Other than I think the Pan America was the first one they actually really put down on what the horsepower was in, I'm sure, the newer years. But anyways, but continuously on this ride, I mean, what you get with this 1200S compared to the other ones, if you are out there looking for a Sportster, this is one you should take a deeper look at. You already, from the factory, have cartridge style front ends that you can adjust your compression to how you want it stiffed or soft, and as well you get reservoir shocks in the back with this same adaptation, so you don't need a tool. You can just use your hand and it's just a couple clicks left to right which way you want to go, so you can really tune in what you're looking for. Those are the biggest difference beyond the motor and that of what normal also Sportster would have of this year. And so far I gotta say it's pretty comfortable. Now I can't give you a full review, obviously. It's not, I haven't had this bike long enough to give you that, but just for the test ride alone, it's quick. The throttle responds fast. I was just going around the corners that you saw there and other ones, and it feels like it's hugging the road very nicely. You don't feel any wobble. It feels like where you point it, it's going to go right there. It's going to hold itself through, and you feel confident of riding through it. And that's due a lot with Harleys is their suspension. Soft suspension, while it's just you feel mushy through the corners and you don't feel as confident, unless if you've been riding obviously for a while, then you may have a little more confidence to throw it down. But as far as just hopping on it and not knowing what bike it is, it feels very, I want to say, tight in the corners or stiff where you want to be. You know, that's also from the ridge mounted frame that helps that a lot. So it's a good feeling. So if this is a, you know, there's obviously, like I said, the other Sportsters out there. If you are considering a Sportster for yourself, or you're looking for something a little bit different, or you want something to zip around town, this is one I feel like not too many people talk about. This is one that, you know, gets looked over because they have essentially the XR, the inverted front end one, which I'm sure does handle better, but you got a price tag that you got to follow behind it. This one you can still get at an affordable rate and have a pretty nice ride to go with it. You don't have to do too much upgrading. If you don't want to redo the shocks and redo the front end, I mean, it comes with dual front end already, dual disc front end. I mean, it's set up. It's essentially what a lot of people are looking for as far as performance. Is it going to be the best out there? No. But for what you can get for a Harley and the price tag right off the shelf, if someone's used or down in the market, I say it's a win. If you're looking for something that's also not the same Sportster as everyone else has, it's definitely a way to go. And Adam also has switched out the seat to a saddleman seat, step-up saddleman, just like on my FXR. And at first when I hopped on, I was like, man, this thing is way too small. But after a mile or so down the road, I'm already used to it, and it feels good. It's a nice, I prefer the stiffer seats because when you want to get on it or you're getting off from a light, it plants you and sticks you right to it, so you don't feel like you're going to slide and bump over your seat when that happens. All right, this is more I got to watch out for these crazy people pulling out of here. There we go. We're about to get back to where I got to drop this off for Adam. So, if you made it all the way through, I would greatly appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button, tap that like, press that notification, and leave a comment below and tell me what you think. And for those that have already subscribed, thank you. And as always, stay free.